So, good morning, everybody, to the listeners of Best Day of Your Life podcast. So this is your host, Taj, with you. Today, we have a very interesting guest. She's a very dear friend of mine for many, many years now. And she's been a legal secretary with a company called Amica Law. Amica Law specializes in trademark and intellectual property. And it's a subject that I've been very interested in for the past few years. So it would be a great conversation and hope you enjoy the show. Hi, Yujesh, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Dash. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to jump right into the questions. Why
Okay.
specialize in trademarks?
Well, for me, it's been an interest actually because trademarks, and we all know trademarks and brand names and everything. So it's something we're very familiar with. So and trademarks because well, basically for lack of any other legal work, I started off with trademarks, and I got interested in it along the years.
So for people like me who actually have no idea how to get started in something like this, so do you actually have to study law? What is the educational direction that you took when you started to get into this industry?
Okay. Well, basically, like for me, like normally with trademarks, not we correspond with the registry of trademarks, and we're not required to go to court or anything like that unless it's more of an infringement action or copyrights or something like that. So debating was not actually a skill for me. So if you're looking at what we have to study and all that, usually for paralegal, you would have to have a legal diploma. That's like the basic level where you will need to know everything about the law, every other law. It's like a very basic where they will tell you how to read the statutory law and everything and how to interpret it. So, of course, a very good English interpretation skills would be very good because you have to actually know what the law is actually saying, and therefore you can apply it to the issues on hand. Yeah, so when I took the diploma, we had like a lot of, well, IP, unfortunately, for the particular diploma that I took, IP was not part of the module. It was not a module that was part of the course. So I took IP separately because I wanted to know more about it, you know. But my work on a day-to-day basis only involves trademarks,
But
although IP is really quite wide.
when you were
Yeah.
starting, was like intellectual property still a big thing, or was it like in a very infant stage?
Yeah, it's actually quite a big thing here. And it's forever growing. There's always something more that's coming in, and there's always some new law. And
Yeah, so you're based in Singapore, but you actually have clients across the world.
Mm.
Where would you see the maximum trademarks or intellectual properties being registered? Which country is the biggest in terms of your clients?
I would say mostly from the US. From what I notice, is mostly from the US and Europe, and yeah, we get trademark work from all over actually. It's just that you know just the bigger countries, the like even the African nations and all that, but it's just not as wide. So it's just all over.
And would you say, like, maybe, there are certain firms that specialize in this? Are they a lot of firms like this across the world?
Yes, there's a lot of IP firms that actually specialize only in IP. Yeah.
So, what is, how does this work? For example, I have a trademark that I want to get, um, say, protected. How do you say that?
Yeah, it's protected. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it all depends. Like IP has got there are various intellectual properties. Like the most common ones that everyone knows about is actually copyrights and patents, right? Because copyrights are actually literary and artistic works, and patents are actually inventions. Okay. And of course, trademarks, of course, everyone knows trademarks. So that's actually brand names for traders. And then there's also little ones like protection of trade secrets. and then protection of geographical indications. For example, wines from a certain region in France called Champagne, and tea from Darjeeling tea that's from India. So regions can also be protected. Then they have designs of a product, like the Motorola has this specific. Apple also has. These are all designs. So a very unique and very artistic design can be protected. So you will actually have different interface of that particular product that will have to be registered. Yeah, so there's there's even integrated circuits like semiconductor chips. Even the elements of that chip can be protected. So these are not very common, but it's still IP.
That's an interesting fact. I had no idea that intellectual property rights or trademark rights were so much in detail.
We actually have a whole team. Like the firm is not very big. It's actually there's only we grew from about less than 20 of us, and now there's about close to 60 of us. So we have a whole team that works on just trademarks, and then we have a team for patents, and then we have a copyrights team. Basically, the work is just some people would say it's quite mundane, but I don't find it mundane. I guess that's why I've been doing it for 25 years.
Indeed, I can imagine. So you've always been somebody who values efficiency. How do you plan your workday and prioritize tasks? I think that's something that we'd all like to listen to.
Actually, I pride myself in the way I do my work. And I'm just very old school about these things. So I actually plan my day the day before. I will actually take a notebook and a pen, and I'll write down what I need to do for the next day. And we basically work on deadlines. Every day there's a deadline. So it's like when the registry of trademarks, right? Because we register trademarks to the registry, right? So what the registry does is that it will actually examine the trademark and see if it has any objections to it. So if it has an objection to it, it will write to us. Many law firms in Singapore actually do trademark work. So the registry's work it's a lot of work, but they have a lot of lawyers over there, and they do that work, and it's overwhelming amount of letters that goes out every day. So for us, right, every day we can get like 20, 30 letters. And of course, there's so many of us, so the work is actually split up. Okay, and I work with a director. So for us, it's like easily on a good day, it's 6, 7 letters that comes in from the registry. I know it doesn't look like much, but it's actually work, and it's tedious work. You see, so that's just me and the work that is from myself, and the ones that I have to deal with, the deadlines that I have to deal with. You see, so what happens is that I will note these deadlines, and the registry usually gives you like 3 months to respond from the date that it gives you the letter. So that's 3 months from that date, right? So I will note this deadline, and I actually have a turnaround time. So I will have to draft a report to the client and get it out within at least 3 days or within the week to just report to the clients. And then, of course, you have to wait for the clients to let you have their instructions. You will tell them, look, the registry has objected to this. This is why your mark is not going through. And then we'll give them suggestions on how they can change the services or the goods or services that the registry has objected to, or whether there is a mark that the registry doesn't find distinctive enough and it objects to it. So maybe they will have to, the burden of proof is on the clients. They have to come and let us know why they need the mark registered, you see. So they'll have to let us know, and then they'll have to give us evidence, maybe sometimes statutory declaration, to just give us all the evidence, and we will have to file it with the registry. So that's why the registry gives you 3 months. So if the faster you let your clients know, the faster they can come back, and you will be in time to respond to the registry. So it's a cycle, so everybody gets everything done at that time. Now, because of the volume of work, we cannot always be on time. So I think I have a very strict timeline of a week, you see. So I put this on myself. So every time I draft a letter and all that, 3 days within the week, it has to go out. If it doesn't, I'll chase my boss or whoever is the associates working on it. I'll say, hey, is this out? Have you looked at it? Have you done it? So once they approve it, they come back to me, I send it out to the client, and then I'll wait for the client. So it's not just that one client, we have many clients. So it's daily, there's a lot of tasks, there's a lot of deadlines, different deadlines, different things to do. So to me, that's interesting because it keeps me, it just keeps me going for the day. I like what I do. So I'm actually very excited about it, as you can see.
This is exactly the reason why we're talking to you, And but it is something like a software also which you use. I've heard there's something called as, I think, DMs.
Yeah, it's Dimes. It's like a record system that we have. So basically what it does is that it generates reports. I mean, of course, we have to do all the keying in and all the updating and all that, but it keeps track of all the deadlines. It keeps track of whatever you need to do with that file, the logo, when it needs to be registered, when it needs to be renewed. Because for trademark, you have to renew your mark every 10 years, you see, for it to be protected, you see. So from the time you register the mark, if there are no objections, well, some marks are really good. So there are no objections. So within 6 months, that mark will be registered. So you have to do a lot of work. Like there's no letter, but when a mark is being registered, it will be advertised in a journal. So of course, it's an online advertisement. So what we will do is we will download the journal. It's actually a journal, a few hundred pages. So we will go through every mark that has been registered. Of course, it's just a touch of a button and you're just looking for any mark that is under a maker law. So it generates all those advertisements that come out under that journal. So we will start sending out these reports to the clients to tell them, like, look, your mark has been published. No objection, so published. Next stage, 2 months later, the mark will be registered. So there is actually a certificate of registration. So last time now it was an actual certificate of registration with the seal and all that. These days it's an online certificate of registration, which makes our work so much easier because it actually used to come in hard copy. We used to type out letters, attach the certificate and send them out by registered post or something like that. I've been doing this for 25 years, right? So that was before the time of scanners and everything. So then after that, we started scanning the certificates. So Dimes is also like that. So when you scan the certificates, you just put it into the system, the record system. So the client actually has, okay, when the mark was published, a copy of the publication. When the mark was registered, a copy of the registration certificate. So all this is online. Everything is online. It's so much easier these days. So work gets done faster, of course. Yeah. And so that's how we keep up. And we're actually one of the best few IP firms in Singapore. I'm proud to say that.
I think I can second that for you. So you said you have a team working with you, and say as a leader, how do you keep your team motivated?
Well, I buy them coffee every day. Sometimes.
Okay, as simple as that.
Actually, basically, I'm very happy to say that the team, the whole firm, actually, we're just like one big family. And because like for some of us, we've known each other for many, many years. I mean, I've known some of my colleagues for as long as I've started working. And for some of them, of course, new staff, because people are always coming and going, and everything. So, but the whole team, we actually work well together. It always goes on like clockwork. And, you can just do your follow-up. And some of them are very proactive. When you ask them for something, they just get back to you really, because they know how you work. For me and the director, Vinita, that's my boss. So she's one of the directors of Amical Law. And so the girls, the rest of us, we always know how she works and they know how I work. So it's just me and her, and then they know what to give me and when to give it to me. If not, I will ask them, you see. So before I ask, and it's there. So we always have a check and balance, like a follow-up with each other. Okay, is this done? Is that done? Communication is key. We have to talk to each other.
That's always a good thing to do. And working alongside the director, has she been a mentor in your life, having worked for all these years, and how has that shaped you?
Very much. It has. I've grown as a person working with her. And the interest also, of course, came about because of her also. When I first started working, I was 19 years old, going on 20. And she was just a newly qualified lawyer at that time. She had done her pupillage. It was another firm that we were working in. And she had just done her pupillage, and she was a newly qualified lawyer. And when I started working, I was just put as her secretary, you see. So I started off as secretary, a junior secretary, right after school. So because she was also fresh starting off, and I was also starting off, as a legal secretary, that was the first time. But after I left school, for about 6 months, I was in an insurance firm, and I didn't like the work. That was boring. That, at least to me, it was.
Yeah. Okay.
There was nothing exciting about underwriting. So yeah. So then what we did was that the two of us, anything I didn't know, that was my first time in a legal firm. And the thing with legal firms, there's just so much work, and there's just everything is to be done fast, and it's actually intimidating because you see lawyers everywhere, and you know how lawyers are. They're always working 24/7, and they all look so, oh, I've got to go to court, and they're all rushing here and rushing there. And that was like years back, and stuff. So well, they're all quite chill over there. So I think it was just, things just got a lot more chill. But also because a lot of court cases are heard online these days, virtually. Don't really have to go to court for, if it's not such a big deal, you don't really have to go to court. You can just do it virtually. Or mostly they go more for mediation. So, you just settle it out of court, and yeah, it works. So anyway, coming back to me and Vinny, Vinny and I, we kind of worked out this way of working. So if I don't know anything, of course, she's the lawyer. So I will ask her, and I'll go to her with every question I had. The silliest things. I would second guess myself. Is it a silly question? And I'll tell her, and she's 6 years older than me, by the way. So she'll say, no, it's not. You're learning. And that actually made me feel good, because it wasn't like, I don't have time for you. Go and find out yourself. Because I had no experience in law. I didn't study law at that time. So, I had no experience. All I knew was to be a secretary. I knew how to take minutes. I knew how to type letters. I know how to draft letters. That was all. So, so we worked out this system, and it worked for us. And at that time, whenever she had to deal with her legal work, she will have this little tape recorder, and she will record her letters in that recorder.
Mhm.
All right. And she'll bring it back the next day with, and all, we had files, big, thick files sometimes, because it was paper. There was not paperless at the time. So every letter, everything had to be filed in. So she'll bring all these files back, record all her letters, bring it back the next day. I would put on this little, what do you call that, headsets, listen to the recorder, and type out all my letters. And then it had to be sent to the registry.
Yeah.
So from that to what we are doing now, I was just telling her the other time, can you imagine how far we've come? Now it's like, it's such a breeze. It's so easy. And so that's how it was. It was quite a learning curve. Like, even when we were doing statutory declarations, the registry would have specifics. Like, you should have a certain font, or the margin sizes and all that. And people will actually take the ruler and measure it. Or they will reject, court documents, right? So they were rejected. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting. So we actually devised this thing, and that's how we actually work well together. No need to say. There's nothing to be said. As long as she's not on my back looking at what I'm doing, I get everything done. And
Yeah,
I like that. I can't have someone watching over me and asking me, have you done that? Have you done this? I know what to do. I don't like people telling me what to do. If I don't know, I'll ask. So I'm like that. And also because I have somewhat of a seniority now. So I kind of know what I need to do.
I think when your boss or your mentor gives you the freedom and believes in you and lets you get the work done, I think we all perform much better in this direction.
Exactly. Because you're trusted to do what you are doing, and also because you are trusted, you will not make so many mistakes, because you want to prove to them that you can actually do it. So you'll be very careful and not make mistakes.
So do you find, the team that you have now, as you said, that most of them are quite spirited and most of them are self-motivated. And do you find that also a trait with the younger generation now that you have in your team?
It depends. The younger generation, I think, sometimes it might be a little bit of a challenge that, there's no friction or anything like that, and it doesn't slow down the work. But it's just that sometimes you have to make more of an effort following up. Like, they don't really tell you, like we're used to asking someone because sometimes we don't talk to each other, and especially with hybrid, you don't see your colleagues in the office. So you have
Yeah.
to email them or WhatsApp them. But I prefer to email because I'm always on the computer, so it's faster to email.
Yeah.
So when I'm asking something, or even when my boss asks something and she CCs me in, so she asks my colleague something and all that, and nobody gets back to us to say that. The younger ones, of course. I'm not saying everyone is like that, but some. Nobody gets back to us and say, "Oh, we are on this. It will let you have this soon." Or nobody says anything. And we're like, "Did you see my email? Are you working on it?" You don't know. 3 days later, you have to ask them again. For me, I prefer not to go that route. I prefer to, if I'm saying something, let me know. So I'm not thinking about this. So the ball is in your court. I know you're going to be doing something. I'm expecting an answer from you. You see? So
Yeah,
if not,
I think, the work that you do is serious work. And as much as, you would want to keep the office environment relaxed and cool, there is certain amount of work which needs to be done. And as
yes.
long as that's done, I think everybody is okay, So, yeah, that's right.
Yes. It's just that I think I'm just a little bit too, how do you say that? I get overexcited about it.
But tell me something, because it's such a interesting field, and you must be having a lot of new laws coming in from time to time. You must be having new additions, deletions. There's so much to keep up with. How do you personally keep up to date with all that's happening in the trademark and intellectual property field?
I read whatever article, whatever that comes in. From the registry, usually if they change a law or if they have something, they will send out circulars. And as long as you subscribe to those circulars, and then you will get a copy of it. So that, and also whenever there's a decision made on a certain case, I like to read cases. So, I mean, it actually started when I was doing the diploma, where you actually had to read cases to know how the law was applied and what kind of ruling the judge had given. But all this is usually a criminal law, because we had different modules, right? So we did real estate, we did criminal law and corporate work and all these kind of things. So I actually liked it. Yeah. So even with the trademarks, I mean, of course, trademarks not really, I guess, can be quite boring because all you talk about is just the difference, between two products, how you're distinguishing, and so it goes back and forth. But the thing is, I like the decisions. I like how they examine and how they're actually fighting to show because the burden of proof is in you. You have to show how you're using your mark or how distinctive it is, so that your consumer, it doesn't get confused with your competitor's mark. See,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's kind of interesting. But sometimes I also like to go and read cases. Like like I have subscriptions on the law reports. So whenever there's some case that's going on and I'm interested in it, usually it's a criminal case. So I will actually go and download the reports and then I'll read it. So likewise, like what is it? That's how I guess we just kind of keep it. Even the lawyers, actually it's more of the lawyers' work because they have to know the law. Otherwise, they're going to be advising their clients wrongly. So they really have to keep up. They really have to keep up to date with it. But I do it as a matter of interest. And also, if I do it and I can just pick up on certain things and I can just help my boss along the way because she's got a lot of work. And so I can just draft some submissions for the registry and all that. And then, of course, just pass it to her and then she will just go through it and change the wordings here and there. So basically, you just have to find the issue of the matter, and then you have to know what law to go with the issue, apply
Okay.
it to the issue, and then come to a conclusion as to why you're supporting this action. Why are you taking this action for this legal issue?
So if
So it's a lot of time-consuming work. Yeah, but as you do it, you get kind of used to it.
if you were not doing this would there be anything else that you would be doing? What else do you see yourself if you were not in this industry?
If I was not doing this, well, actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher, just like every other girl. You know, every girl wants to be a princess or a teacher. So, but I wanted to be a teacher. So, I would always pretend play. I'll be this imaginary black. Last time we used to call it a blackboard, right? Where you write with chalk. There used to be this imaginary blackboard, and then I will have this imaginary children sitting down. I take a ruler and I'll point and I'll start talking to myself. So then, as I got older, when I got into secondary school, I did not like the idea of being a teacher. It didn't appeal to me. I wanted to do more like be like an office worker because I used to watch a lot of movies and all that. So I like to dress up and go to work with high heels, have my hair up and, looking really good. And so it was always like some nice job, like a professional, an advertising agency or, something like that. I did not think that I would be doing legal and that I would actually like.
So you have two kids and they're grown up kids now. Any of them interested to go in the same path as you, or they're choosing different directions in life?
Choosing different directions in life.
And,
I
and
have
that makes
to.
you happy about it, or are you happy with that?
Well, actually, I'm happy with whatever they do because well, basically you have to like what you're doing for you to actually get up and go to work every day, every single day for until you retire at least, So you have to actually like what you are doing. So my son, he's 23. He is actually interested in supply chain and logistics. So he's doing he's just studying for that. And then hopefully he can get something. And my daughter, she just tries different things. So I think it's like what she's studying for is actually early childhood. So because she wants to be a teacher. So yeah, so she wants to be a teacher. And
Till maybe she
so she's gone.
realizes something else. But then I think that's a good age to try different things. I
Yes,
think when you're much younger, you should, experience different work environments. And then that really kind of brings you to the direction that you want to go to. Yeah.
exactly. I think you should try different things. But I think about the Gen Zs, I guess now, is that they like to try different things. They don't mind not properly working. They don't mind doing part-time jobs just to see what it feels like to go to work and earn some money, whether they like it or not. So they will do all sorts of different things. There's no set idea in their head as to what they actually want to do. So, I mean, it's a good thing as well because they're actually seeing what works for them. So they're learning the work and things like that. But sometimes it's very hard because I come from a different generation. So it's very hard for me to accept, but that's what I have to do because they're my kids. And I just want them to be happy.
The kids nowadays, they also look at money very differently. They look at careers very differently. And yeah, it'll be very interesting in future, say the next 20, 30 years down the line to see how things go. And in talking about future, how does AI change trademarks and intellectual property? Are you seeing any kind of changes there? ChatGPT with different AI platforms. Are you seeing any kind of changes that are going to happen in the future?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. The world is always changing. And then you see all this ChatGPT and AI just rampant everywhere. In Singapore, it's not so much. The change is coming. Probably in the next 10 years, it's going to be a thing, especially in the legal industry. But there will also have, the way I see it, I think there will also have to be some new law just to keep it in check. Because I think with AI is, well, it has to be entered by man. Right? So a mistake made by someone who's entering all this information. Say, with AI, I mean, with legal work, you will have to have the law and the cases entered into so that you can just pull up this information. So the way I see it is that as lawyers, you have to know the law. You have to read it, you have to interpret it, and you have to know how to apply. Now, AI is not going to be able to apply it for you. at that
Yeah, the
on that
application process.
human level.
Yeah, the application process definitely needs to be done, by us. So yeah,
Yes. And you will have lawyers who rely very heavily on AI. They just start pulling up cases or they start pulling up law. But how accurate is that? How do you advise your clients about this thing that you've just pulled up out of ChatGPT or something, and you're just giving your client this information that you didn't think about? You probably did not, as a lawyer, you have not even read the case fully. AI just gave
yeah,
it to you. So
yeah.
how do you advise your client? So I think so with all these kind of issues, um, I think there must be some new law, some check and balance thing that has to be worked out. But I think Singapore being so technologically advanced and they're forever working something out all the time. So they probably they are working on this. People are already doing it. There are firms actually employing people who are well versed in all these issues. So yeah, eventually it'll be a big thing. So we will see how it goes.
With all this work, how do you de-stress? How do you spend time with your family? What do you do other than work?
Gosh, well, work actually takes up a lot of my time. I like traveling, but I don't do it enough. Um, yeah, but it's just that I was very busy with the kids as they were growing up. So traveling was really not something I could do as often as I want to. We all do, right? We all want to travel,
Yeah,
but there's always limitations. So I'm hoping that this year on I could travel more and see the world more. And well, hopefully I could do that more because they're also grown up. My son is 23 and my daughter is 19. So
yeah. Time to
hopefully.
let them fly. Get some time for yourself.
Yeah, but other than that, I like to read. I read a lot, and I try to go for walks. It's basically that's how I de-stress.
Yeah. So looking back, if you were to give your 19-year-old, 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
I will tell myself, don't rush. You have time. I made a lot of hasty decisions because I rushed, because I wanted to do everything quickly. And I made a lot of hasty decisions so that maybe I would tell myself that don't rush. I have all the time in the world and I'm still young. I should concentrate on becoming a better person and doing things for myself and giving myself that time. I guess that's because I think what I did was that I did a lot of things and then I had to step back and just reorganize my thoughts and, learn stuff about myself that I didn't know I had. I didn't know who I was. So I had to do that, but at a very late stage. You see. So I was well into my 30s when I actually realized that I do not have anything. I didn't further my studies. I had to go to work early. So, when I was very young. So I could have furthered my studies. But I did that later. It's not a waste, but I still got to do it. If I was younger, it would have been easier. You see, I would be probably, be making more money, or I would actually be a lawyer or something like that. But yeah, but that's just yeah. I tell my kids that all the time. Don't you have all the time in the world? You don't have to rush. You don't have to settle. Especially, don't settle and be happy. Whatever you do, be happy. Do what makes you happy, and you don't have to think about what anyone cares. As long as you are happy with what you do, you're not doing anything wrong, you're not spoiling another person's life, good. And if you're scared about doing something, I think at least try. Don't just give up. So tell myself all these things. And if only we could all turn back time.
I mean, I think that's a great end note. And just in your favor, of course, a lot of people still don't have their stuff together. We're all still figuring things out. And that's
Yeah.
basically the reason why we have this podcast, is that for people to listen to and to maybe get some insight. And even if one or two people get inspired and, can look at things differently, that's the goal of the podcast. So you can thank
It's
you
a
so
great
much.
goal.
Thank you so much for being with us today. An absolute pleasure to talk to you. I didn't even realize the time. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this. Yeah.
Thank you actually for having me and interviewing me. It was great. It's actually good to be on your show. Thank you.